Good morning,
Good
Commissioner
morning.
Ball. I'd like to bring up an issue that I have some concerns about, and since we're at the Student Conservation Association and they work on trails and preserve trails and build new trails, I would like to plead with you and Commissioner O'Leary to not allow ATVs on the TE rail trails. I know that there is a proposal to allow these ATVs on these trails, and I object to this. I think that ATVs can do significant damage to trails, especially if the areas are muddy. They are not snowmobiles, even though snowmobiles have been allowed on some of these trails. 80% of the public are not in favor of these ATVs on these trails. And so my plea is that you would rethink your position along with Commissioner O'Leary and not allow these very damaging vehicles on ATV trails. Now you know I supported the ATV park up in Berlin, and I have no objection to them going on those trails, but I do not want to see them on these other trails.
Counselor, I'm delighted you asked that question.
Well, it was a statement, but go ahead.
Do you want a response?
Yes, I would.
The situation is, we're not asking for additional use of the trails. There was some change in the definition of trails, and it used to be that the trails that allowed winter use. And there was a change in the definition of the trails, and so my understanding is the U.S. DOT said if the change is there, then unless you ask for a request, you can't use them on winter trails. And so the law was always before, or the rule was, you could use ATVs with snow cover on those trails. So all we ask DOT is to ask the federal DOT to have the same rules that we had before. So it's not Commissioner O'Leary who's directing this. I don't want to get him in trouble.
Well, he gets himself in trouble enough. You don't have to worry about that.
So it's something that we requested of DOT, and all we're saying is that yes, there was a change in the definition of the trail, but all we're asking is that the previous use be allowed. We're not asking for expanding the use. They always had allowed on the specific trails, they had always allowed ATV use with snow cover.
That wasn't my understanding. My understanding was they allowed snowmobiles, and that certain departments in New Hampshire are now considering ATVs like snowmobiles, but they are in no way like snowmobiles, and they do a significant amount of damage to these trails. In 2006, I think the legislature passed a bill that said that ATVs are to be treated differently than snowmobiles.
Well, I know where you're getting your information, because there are a number of state agencies that are spending a lot of time responding to the misinformation that this organization is passing out. So all I can tell you is that we are just asking to do the same thing that we've always done. It's not something new. We're not asking to expand on the trails. It's only to continue what has been previous practice.
That's not my understanding, and when I voted for the ATV park up in Berlin, I thought that we were going to expand that and have people with ATVs do whatever they want up there and run on those trails. But now I hear that they are going other places, and I think that as the public, if they are allowed on these trails, and as the public becomes aware of the damage that they're doing and the noise that they're causing, there are going to be many, many more complaints than there are now.
Councilor, all I can say is I recall your discussion about Berlin and the fact that, or the Jericho that you were supporting it because you didn't want it to be in other areas. We're not asking to put ATVs in any other areas. All we're asking through the request through DOT is to continue to have it in areas that we had it before and under the same conditions. It's not springtime use or it's not summer use. It's only with snow cover on those trails.
Well, I continue to disagree. And, you know, because we've had a meeting with this individual. But I have found him to be genuinely concerned about conservation and the trails and what's happening to our trails.
And I'm equally concerned, but I don't go out of my way to put incorrect information so people are led to believe things that are not accurate. I don't, people can be opposed to, my personal view of ATVs is not what I'm working on. I'm working on the fact that the legislature has outlined policies that say DRED will do this, and so that's what we do. I don't mind him being opposed to it, but I do mind the incorrect information that he emails to everybody that he possibly can, and so we have state employees that are spending a lot of time responding to those things and saying to people, no, that's not accurate. There are a number of other issues that he's done that with. Counselor, it's not that I am opposed to his opinion. If ATVs are running in my backyard, I know how I feel about it. But as I told him, if he doesn't want ATVs in this state, then he should go to the legislature. I'm not the one that put the legislation in. He ought to go in that direction. It's not my, he constantly criticizes my agency, and we're pushing the policies that the legislature has told us to do.
Councilor Burton?
These are the trails that were formerly railroad tracks, rails to trails?
Correct.
Like through Newport and up through this county? We visited with, I think you were with us that day, didn't you?
No, these are trails where the only use is during snow cover. The trails that we visited were actual trails that are allowed in the summer.
How many miles are we talking about in these trails that's only supposed to be used when there's snow on the ground?
I'm sorry, I don't have that answer. Chris Gamache is on vacation and directly he's at a funeral. But I can get the information.
What parts of the state are we talking about, George?
It's a fairly limited, and Commissioner, I'm sorry. I honestly don't know, but I can get you the exact mileage and the location.
We, the state government, putting out maps with these trails identified, and they're marked, and they're patrolled, and they come under the Fish and Game jurisdiction of law enforcement?
They do. The Fish and Game enforces the ATV and snowmobile regulations.
Okay.
Councilor, if there's additional information that I could get you, I would be delighted to do that. And maybe it would be helpful if we had another meeting with Chris Gamache so that we could explain more in detail. And I think that you would see that if we're not trying to expand it, we're just asking to keep what is currently paused.
Okay, that might be a good idea.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further questions?